Hey guys, what is up? Today I'm going to be installing a boost gauge, and I went ahead and went with the Equus brand once again. I really liked the installation. The gauges were nice, quality parts, the sensor reads good, and yeah, they look good. I'm not sponsored by them. I mean, I have 0 subscribers. Who's going to honestly sponsor that? You once gonna get another sticker. Yay. Alright, here's the gauge. Well, unscrew the locking cap on the back. That's a really nice design. So you get the gauge. It's already wired, power and ground, and it's of course a mechanical style regular boost gauge. You get a couple of size ups and a really small piece of macro line with a T. If you want to go ahead and tee this into a vacuum line, I don't plan to. I'm going to run it out of the manifold. That's where mine's already ran. This. Notice how long this cord is. This Sun Pro one over here. So I'm going to go ahead and just run a new line because I think this one may be occluded or backed up or crimped or all that good stuff, because I'm not getting a really consistent reading. Of course, there are instructions folded up into 1,000 little folds. The rubber condoms to change the color. These are backlight gauges. They're not LED, so they have nice little bulbs that just pop out. You put the little rubber condom on there and you get the color you want. And they're real easy to pop back in. And of course your vacuum line. This is hard plastic, this isn't soft rubber. I prefer using this because eventually under heat the soft rubber will expand or bend, or it'll rub and get holes in it. Of course this will too, but I like to think this is a little more durable. It's easier to run as well. And I also forgot for this installation, you're going to need various size wrenches. I just grabbed a bunch. The reason for it is these size ups all have different size nuts on them, obviously, but the one on the back of the gauge is a 10 millimeter, so that if you only need that, then you only need a 10 millimeter wrench. Super easy install. You won't use any sockets or anything like that. One thing I figured I should mention is that little white piece of metal, like you see on the Sun Pro gauges and stuff. This thing right here. It doesn't come with the kit, surprisingly. They show it on the box, but it's not actually in there. So I don't know what that's about. Apparently they don't think you're going to mount it, or you already have somewhere to mount it. Alright, so I went ahead and took the old Sun Pro gauge out. This only goes 20 pounds. I don't even know if it works, to be honest. At least it didn't seem like it read very consistently. I went ahead and took it out of its little bracket and put this one in it. These are 52 millimeter gauges. They're really universal. They basically fit just about any pot on the market, unless you buy the smaller ones. I think they're like a 35 millimeter or something. Alright, now before I mount this and put this in, I'm going to go ahead and change the backlight color. And the way you do that is just go ahead and pull your little socket out, take the light bulb out. Decide which one of the little rubber condoms you want to put on. This is really self-explanatory. And just put it over the bulb. It's actually going to rain, and I'm out here. I'm not in the garage today. I'm really hoping it doesn't rain, and it seems like it's going to. And once you stretch your little rubber condom over there, stuff it back in the socket and put it back in the gauge. I went ahead with red because that's what I have all the other ones for. Red is a very low color on the wavelength scale, so at night it's not as blinding. It's a lot easier to see. I have window tint, so it's kind of annoying to have bright lights in the car. I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that. So we're going to go ahead and install this now. Alright, it's raining now, so I'm going to go ahead and try and speed up the install. If you're installing this on a Vg30ET, there is a vacuum line down here. You can basically tie into any of the vacuum system on the engine, but there are places where you get a more accurate read. I'm actually tied into the opposite side of the manifold. I went ahead and already put the line in. You can see it right there. The camera focuses. That is a very accurate spot. That's a good spot to take it from. Alright, so then You want to take your line, you want to make sure you're not running it near the exhaust or anything hot like this. And run it down in through the firewall where you have a grommet. Alright, so my other 3 gauges are there, and I'm going to mount the boost gauge right here. So what you want to do is go ahead and pull this cluster out. If you have an S12, it mainly just pops out. These screws down here are for the dash. This is broken, so just ignore this. There are no vents in the car either, so yeah, there's that. And you want to get this, which is your new boost line, and then run a power and ground to the same location for the light on the gauge. Okay, now the rain went away. I'm going to go ahead and use a piece of Teflon tape on this install. Mainly just where the adapter meets, just a nice little piece, nothing too major. Just to make sure that I get a really good seal. Oh man, Teflon tape is worse than saran. That's about as professionally done as it gets. Now you want to take your little diaphragm, it's going to go in like that with the point down at the bottom. This is going to close over it to make that seal. And you want to thread those onto your line like so. Alright. And then what you want to do is you're going to push the line into the back of the gauge. Ignore my twist ties. I ran out of connectors at the moment. I'll fix it when I'm done. There's the boost gauge installed. I just went ahead and ran my lines down behind the cluster trim. Go ahead and turn it on. Alright, you can see it lights up red, does all that good stuff. Fuel pump. Go ahead and start the car, see what we get. Alright. Reading about -19, that's about where I sit at idle. Figured I'd go ahead and do a little power run, show you guys it working. Let's start up. These windows down, it's 1,000 degrees in there. The sound of your tires slowly burning away. Never a good thing. Alright, so I'm just taking a little cruise down here to make sure there's no cops. All seems clear. I'm going to go ahead and turn around here real quick. Do a little second gear because this is a residential area. I don't want people to get upset. I should see about 13 pounds. Okay, so it turns out the boost line was getting pinched against the cluster, so I took my Dremel and did a little custom modification. You can see here I took a circular sandpaper bit basically and ate out a nice little edge here. So that's where the boost line and the power and ground are going to run, and that's going to keep it all hidden and nice and clean, and should still give me a good reading. Alright guys, so that wraps it up for the boost gauge install. Once again, this was an Equus gauge, super easy to install. Didn't come with anything to mount it with. That was disappointing. But, you know, they give you a cool sticker. I'd rather had something to mount it with than a sticker. But overall, super easy install. Probably one of the easier gauges to install if you have a turbocharged car. I would recommend putting in something aftermarket because eventually the factory system just kind of... And especially if you're tuning in or running more boost out of the car, it's always good to have management.